Hi, and welcome back to another reading vlog. I'm starting off in, I guess what's usually my update position, not my starting or whatever intro position, but you do what you can. So I had a great week last week, only finished books at the end of the week, really, and didn't get through my entire Pokeathon goal, but I did read the ones that I thought I could reasonably read. On that note, I managed to waste enough time on Sunday that I did not get to Ballad and Dagger, not because I'm not enjoying it, but just because I flat ran out of time. Did all sorts of prep and stuff today so I could get most of the run done in the morning. So I managed to do 5 this morning and then did 2 after school. It's only my second time splitting a run and it's totally fine. I would much rather prefer cooler weather than 85 degrees, but when you live in the South, you make do. So I really want to get to this. This will definitely be a much quicker read than this. I'm gonna read a little bit more and I'm gonna try to read a little bit more of this when I'm awake. I still really enjoyed learning about this, but I'm not feeling super motivated, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about that. Those are my for sure reads. My other for sure read is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I'm engaged with it more than I was towards the beginning, even though there's still a significant chunk of the book left. We keep coming to these points where I think that the plot is done, or that I can see where the plot's going, but then I think about how much book is left, and I go, I don't know where the plot is going, or what Paulini's trying to do with this. So who knows? I definitely will finish that this week. My goal is to finish by the 14th, which is Wednesday. Not sure if I'll make it, but I want to finish by Wednesday so that I can pick up The Way of Kings. I'm going to do the audio for The Way of Kings. I think that'll be great, and I'll be way more interested in that than To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. But I also want to give that enough time because it's a 1,000-page book, so it's going to be a long audiobook. As far as my other stuff for this week, I have no idea. I grabbed a few from my stack over there. I grabbed a few shorter ones so I can knock more off. I have How I Shed My Skin, which is a memoir. It was one of the chance card picks. I have what would be my first Anne McCaffrey book, Dragon Song. I should have thought of this for Pokeathon because it is shorter. I mean, the text takes up all of the page, but it is shorter. It's not my favorite style. I definitely will be breaking the spine on this one when I read it. I've got The Echo Wife and I've got Siren Queen, 2 of the ones that I didn't get to for Pokeathon. Will I actually end up reading any of these? I don't know. I'm probably going to do more of a mood read to see what I'm in the mood for on the weekend and just go with those. Okay, so I'm actually checking in first thing Tuesday morning, so not much after yesterday's check-in or start to the vlog, but I'm doing this now because I just have this thing where I prefer running like first thing in the morning, like getting it done first, but I wish that I could have a slow morning, you know? But the only way to get my run in and to school on time is if I get up, run right away, boom, 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 get things done. And I just don't want to move that quickly in the morning. I'm currently making my breakfast, so I'm seeing how well I can manage this one-handed, and the lighting is not great in here. So last night I did read more of Ballad and Dagger, and I'm loving it. I think there's something to be said about Latinx culture in fantasy that I love, because while I don't have obviously the same feeling about Ballad and Dagger that I did about Together We Burn, there's some sort of, it's not nostalgic because it's not something that I remember, but there's just something that I love about the Latinx culture. Built it in, I really enjoy. It's hard to describe, but also there's a depth and complexity to Daniel Older's writing in this that makes it fantastic. So I'm really enjoying it, even if the first person narration is not necessarily something that I think works all that well. I would rather, I think, third person narration in this story. Obviously that's not what we have. We have first person narration, but I think it works really well. And I think I might be able to finish it tonight, depending on what I get done. As far as my other book, Pressure Cooker was singing to me. As far as my other book, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, I'm engaging with it more than I was at the beginning, but it has to beep too. But I think that space opera is just not for me, and all the alien contact. This book just feels like it's this action, whoosh, stop. Oh, so I don't even know the words. Like fast pace, boom, 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 action, 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 and then we get a breather, and then more action, and then we get a breather, and then I don't know. It's definitely not gonna be the book for me. It's probably gonna get at most 3 stars, but I am going to finish it. I am a completionist. There's nothing in it that would make me DNF, so that's why I'm pushing through on it. And now I'm going to finish making my coffee, and I'm gonna edit this clip. Okay, so it is morning again, hence the scratchy voice. First time I've talked this morning. It is Wednesday morning. I guess I'm doing these updates in the morning just to get things done, because on Tuesdays and Wednesdays I have stuff in the evening and it wouldn't work to try to get it done then. Be that as it may. I read a little bit longer than I had planned yesterday, not a bad thing, and finished Ballad and Dagger. I really enjoyed this book. Really enjoyed it. I think I would actually categorize this more as magical realism than fantasy, because this is part of the Rick Riordan imprint, Rick Riordan Presents imprint, which you get a lot of Percy Jackson style books in that imprint. This is the first YA edition of that imprint. It is not what you would expect with Percy Jackson's style. Like the quote-unquote gods are real of San Madrigal. It's very much more magical realism, and it feels a lot like aspects of Heir to the Moon, which I also read this year and really enjoyed. I think that's why I ended up liking it so much. There's just an aspect of the way that Older weaves together the culture. Like literally, he creates a fully formed, believable culture of San Madrigal, which doesn't actually exist, but it's supposed to be this mythical island where all these different people were able to come together and take refuge. Pirates, Jews, and former slaves, like santeros. And of course there's stuff revealed about what's happened. And I realized I never told what the story is. In this, San Madrigal is an island, a mythical island in the Caribbean that 15 years ago sank. A diaspora had already started, but as the island sank, everybody comes over to Brooklyn. And they have this little new San Madrigal in Brooklyn where all these traditions are continuing, but then some stuff starts happening. I really enjoyed what Older did, and I'm definitely going to be looking into his backlist. The one thing that I think would have made this almost perfect book in my eyes is if we had done third person, because as much as I liked the main character, I don't think that the story was best served by being all in his head. I would have appreciated third person, even third person limited. Although I think if you'd gone to third person omniscient, it would have made, no, still third person limited. But it would have, I think it would have made more sense, especially for the times where some other stuff, the perspective of the main character changes a little bit. I think it would have made more sense if we had done that. But really enjoyed this. So now I'm going to be getting back to Veil, seeing how much I can get rid of that one. On the audiobook front, I am still progressing in To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I'm not liking it anymore. I'm not disliking it anymore. I'm still middling. It's sort of making sense what's happening, but I think this book would have been better served by being split into multiple novels. I don't really know what else I can say. I'm about 65% of the way through. Probably won't be able to finish today, but may be able to finish tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be able to finish tomorrow, which is halfway through the month, so I can pick up something that I'm pretty sure that I'm going to enjoy. Welcome to Friday. We have made it. It is Friday morning, so I still have the work day ahead of me. Apparently, I have the lovely bags under my eyes first thing in the morning. I didn't update yesterday because I'm still working through those same books. I had made a goal of trying to finish To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by the 15th. It is now the 16th. This close to finishing. If I had been able to set aside like half an hour more each day this week to cross-stitching and reading at the end of the day, I would be finished. However, things have just been full, especially on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because Tuesdays I go out to my mom and stepdad's to do strength training, and then Wednesdays I have a small group, so those days are really full, and I don't end up with the amount of time that I would like. I'm getting to the point with To Sleep in a Sea of Stars where I sort of see where things are going, and I sort of see the overall thing that Paolini intended when he started this book. So many things are confusing. The reveals, they're not Deus Ex Machina, but they feel like it in a confusing sort of way. So something will happen in the plot, it will change the direction of the characters thinking of a certain thing, of a character's thinking of the aliens that they're facing, or the alien that's basically covering her. But then, I don't know how many pages because I'm reading it via audio, a little while later, something else will reveal and her thinking will go exactly back. Almost exactly back to what it used to be, but slightly different. And so there's a lot of back and forth with stuff in this book, and it just doesn't seem logical or well done. Another minor note, and I think it would be different if I were reading it, but one of the things when Kira is communicating with the alien, they communicate apparently via smells, but that has to be translated to words, obviously, for the page. But something that happens every single time is they start off every statement with their name and then here. So like Kira here or Atari here. When they had full-on conversations back and forth for a while, it was so annoying because every time I'd hear Kira here, statement, Atari here, statement, Kira here, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I'm like, I get that they have to say that. You don't have to utterly bore me and annoy me by having that said every single time. We can make an assumption that she starts each statement with this because we've made the assumption that she's communicating via smells and these are now words. We're smart enough to do that. I'm still plugging away with Veil. It's taking a lot longer to read it than I expected. However, I should have expected that because of the nature of it. I will say that I've gotten further through while being awake. Logically, my brain can comprehend more if it's awake and not asleep. So I'm at about page 200 and I think there's 500 something. So it's taking me a while to read. I don't think that I will touch it during the weekend. I think I'll tackle something else on my list. The book's right back there. I don't know if we can see it in the camera. That's my update for the week. I'm moving a lot slower through the books than I expected. I still think I'll be able to get through, but we shall see if I'm actually able to complete my TBR for the month. So I am coming to you fresh out of the shower after my long run. My body temp feels a little bit warm. You know that feeling when you get out of a warm shower and then you start sweating and you feel like, oh, I need to take a shower again. That's what I'm feeling right now. But anyway, TMI probably. Last night, finally finished To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. Ironically, on the same day that I was watching Daniel Green's Fantasy News and found out this is book 1 in a series. This one book has enough for a series. And the way it was wrapping up, I was thinking, okay, it's a standalone. Or at least I would have thought that if I hadn't, you know, because in the news, those news, they covered a tweet from Paolini where he was talking about what he's doing next. And I just am like, maybe not with a female narrator. I was actually talking to my mom about this on our run, and there was something else that I thought about. It happened way earlier on in the book, and I didn't talk about it. But So apparently science had advanced to the point where women on these expeditions, they can choose to turn off their menstrual cycle. I don't remember how he explained it. But apparently the Xeno, which heals things for Kira, got rid of whatever that switch was that turned it off. She started to feel all these awful pains and thought like she was dying or the Xeno was doing something to her. No, it was her menstrual cycle. And first off, I'm like, number one, not every woman experiences what feels like life-threatening stabs through the gut. It's awful, don't get me wrong, but not every woman experiences that. And number two, literally this is the only time it's mentioned. She doesn't bring that up later on. You know, like if her menstrual cycle's starting again, then she should feel that stuff. She should feel it, you know, as it goes on. Third thing, she's a fully grown woman. Even before she got this switch pulled in, she would have experienced her menstrual cycle before this. So it's not like, oh, I have forgotten what it feels like when my lady parts bleed. Anyway, yeah, that was annoying. So I have some more to say, but I have to switch out my battery because it's almost out of power. So battery was back. I forgot to start recording. So all that stuff, I was just talking to a camera. Let me recap what I just said. It's kind of funny that I talk about the fact that To Sleep in a Sea of Stars could be a series on its own because it's so chunky. And then I pick up a book that's over 100 pages longer and it's the first in what's projected to be a 10-book series. And I'm not saying the same thing about that, you know? Because here's the difference. I trust Brandon Sanderson to know where his plot is going and to build it up correctly and to pace things correctly. But some people have problems with his pacing. I don't. I like how the slow build up and the Sander Lynch. That aside, I trust where he's going on this. And it's over 100 pages longer than To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. The pacing in here felt like someone trying to learn how to drive a stick shift car. No thanks. It took me out of it so many times. And another thing, and I wrote this in my review, one of the things, there were so many like life-threatening, oh no, this is the end, I'm going to die. But there were 15 hours left on the audiobook, so I knew, obviously they're not gonna die because there's so much more of the book left. Plus the fact that only one member of the found family, okay, spoiler, only one member of the found family actually dies. Only one, and he was tangentially related. Spoiler over. No, put some actual high stakes in there. I thought maybe that would get a middling rating. I haven't run it through Compile yet. Pretty sure it's gonna end up a 2.5. Maybe even a 2. But the thing is, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, but it's not the genre for me. And then the pacing was off, and it was a poorly written female lead by a man. All of those work against it. I've read Paolini before. I love his inheritance cycle. I love it. I have all of them except for the last one. I need to get that. I love that. I'll reread it. I'll watch the show when it comes out on Disney+. Thing is, Aragon, male character. I know that people can write characters of the opposite gender that are the main characters, and maybe if he had gone with third person instead of first person, it would have been better. As far as physical book, because I'm listening to this via audiobook, and that's the thing, there's a lot of stuff in here that's confusing, just like there's a lot of science stuff in here that I still don't get. I don't get the Stormlight Archive world yet. I just started it last night. But I trust how Sanderson builds that up and explains it, and I know that things are going to start making sense with other Cosmere stuff that I've read. So I trust that. Back to the physical book. I am going to leave off on Veil, the nonfiction book, for the weekend, just because if I devoted myself to reading that, it would literally take the whole weekend, because it takes me about an hour to read 40-ish pages, which is really slow for me. Not for a lot of people, but for me, it's slow because it's just so dense. And I actually am really enjoying it, even though it's dense, and learning about this stuff. Sorry, long hair, completely wet. So as far as physical books, I'm looking over at my stack over there. I'm probably gonna pick up either Echo Wife, Siren Queen, or Saint, the Arc by Adrienne Young. I'm gonna pick up one of those, probably Echo Wife because it's shorter, to give it a try, give me a finished book today. And those are probably the next ones that I'm going to try to tackle. Over there I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more books on my TBR, and it is the 17th. So that means there's 13 days left. I think I can do it because I have a plan. I've got one of the biggest books done. I'm a little under halfway through one of the other big books, the nonfiction one, and I've started Way of Kings on audiobook. It's 45 hours long. That is a long audiobook. I mean, it makes sense. This is 1,000 pages. But I think I can get it done if I'm also spending more time with cross-stitching, trying to get that project done. So I think I can actually finish my September TBR. Not this week, obviously, or next week, but before September 30th. And on that note, I have plans for how I'm going to switch that up and some new things to help me meet my goals. Because I don't think there are any readathons for October that I will participate in because I don't do spooky stuff. It's just not my thing. So I'll probably will be creating my own TBR, not based on any prompts, for the first time since, I don't know, February, because I've had a readathon just about every month, which I don't mind. It's helped me get through some really good books. Anyway, I digress. This clip is really long, combined with the other clip as well. So I'm gonna leave off for now. I'm going to try to get my body temp down so I can cool off and maybe watch some booktube and read. Same angle, different shirt. Later in the day, so I should have said same day, I'm checking in because I have finished another book and surprised myself. This is the kind of sci-fi I like. I don't know why I had such, well, I do sort of know why I had such trepidation, because I'd heard different things about it. I'd heard people say that they didn't like it. I'd heard people complain about certain things about it that specificity I don't remember. But I'd also heard some people talk about how much they loved it, like Angela from Literature Science Alliance. I can totally see why. And the more that I think about it, the more that I realize just how much my reading taste is so similar to Angela's. I really enjoyed this book. So the premise of this book, the main character, Evelyn, is an award-winning researcher into cloning, different aspects of cloning. But she is, at the start of the book, going through finalizing a divorce from her husband and realizing how much her husband has manipulated her, and now he has a new fiance. But it turns out there's more to the fiance than meets the eye. Well, I mean, some of it meets the eye. And then there's things that shouldn't be possible, but that are. And she meets with the fiance, and then something cataclysmic happens between the fiance and the ex. Well, not the fiance's ex. But anyway, and that starts this story down a line that I didn't think it was gonna go. I thought there'd be more interaction between Evelyn, the main character, and her ex. But there's so much nuance in how the story builds her relationship to Martine, the fiance. I can't really say anything else about this or would give away stuff that you just need to learn by reading this book. It's short, it's a novella. I really liked it. I really liked it. This book is going to be staying in my collection for sure. So, okay, there's another My Coffee and Book Club book that checks the mark and is something that I'm going to be keeping. Something that I didn't think that I would keep. So far I am 2 for 2 in the ones that I have read. And I have one more on my TBR for this month. I think I'm going to try, because this is one that I'm a little nervous about it was from the first box, and it wasn't something I'd heard about at all. Since then, I've heard about a little bit about the book and a little bit more about the author, Guy Gavriel Kay. And I think it's something that I'm interested in because he does a lot more with alternative histories and adding a little bit of fantastical stuff to it, and I really enjoy that. As much as I was nervous about the subscription at first, probably will end up keeping it. So my mom and stepdad are on their way over with supper, gonna eat that. I'm not gonna read any more physically tonight. I'm gonna spend a couple hours cross-stitching and listening/reading Way of Kings. Part of me wants to like hybrid read and go back and forth just because this book just feels so nice in the hand, and it is so floppy and stays open almost effortlessly. I don't know. I think I'll end up doing this one via audiobook primarily, but that's my plan for tonight. Tomorrow, I'm not sure what I'll read. I'll try to read another entire book, another entire short book, so I can sort of stay on track, because there's no way I'm finishing this or Veil throughout the week next week. It's really dark. Sorry about that. I didn't unbox this on camera yet, or on camera at all, but this is one of the books that I had gotten an e-arc for from NetGalley, but didn't download it or read it before it got archived. This is Wingbearer, a middle grade graphic novel by Marjorie Liu. And the thing that made me go ahead and purchase it, number one, I couldn't get it from the library, but also the illustrator is Armenian. So I had to get it, and I'm excited about it, but I won't be putting it on September's TBR, even though I want to. So I'm here to wrap up the vlog for this week. Maybe I should start calling them recent reads, because I don't really include other content besides reading updates. I know that Ashley from Bookish Realm started titling hers recent reads instead of vlogs. Who knows? Maybe I'll take up after her. The main things that I read throughout the week, like weekdays, were Veil as a physical book, and I just realized that I actually started off the week with Ballad and Dagger. I had forgotten about that, but then I remembered from editing the previous clip. This was a hit. It came out as a 4 stars. No, it came out as a 4.5 stars on Cawpile. I love the world that Daniel Older created here. I love the idea of San Madrigal. I will definitely be picking up further books in this series. Then I had to slog through Veil, which is over there. I'm not gonna go get it. I say slog, but I am enjoying my reads. I'm learning from it, and it's not groundbreaking, but it really is an interesting perspective on things. The more that I learn about government and the world under Reagan and about Reagan's administration, the more parallels I see with the previous administration. Like parallels, but then exaggerated. I really need to learn more about that. And it's also eye-opening because I didn't live through most of the 80s. I lived through about half of it, a little under half, but I didn't make any memories. I wasn't old enough to make memories during the 80s. So all I knew about the 80s came from what other people told me. And I grew up in an environment that revered Reagan and his politics and that style of running the country, basically. And so I had a different idea of what went on during that time than what actually went on, and what I'm learning from different sources, a wide variety of sources, from podcasts to books and things like that. I definitely find that book illuminating. It's just slow to get through. I hope to finish it next week. Might take me a little bit longer, but I'm probably going to be able to make more progress because I'm not taking over another book into that read. So I read that on Monday and Tuesday of last week. The thing that really was a slog this week, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. Space opera is not the thing for me. I hesitate to say that because there are things that I like about it. It didn't help this book that I don't really prefer space opera type books. I've talked about this enough. Gonna leave off for now. The other book that I finished, The Echo Wife. This shows me I do like sci-fi. Not all sci-fi, but I do like sci-fi. This came out to a 4-star read. Started The Way of Kings. I am really liking this. So this is the first of the Brandon Sanderson books where both Michael Kramer and Kate Redding are reading. And so you have the perspectives from Kaladin that are read by Kramer, and the perspectives by Shalon that are read by Kate Redding. And at first I was a little thrown off by Kate Redding's style because it's obviously not Michael Kramer, that they're two different people, but she's light years better than the narrator for the Life Ship Traders series, which that's one of the reasons I haven't gone to the Rainwild Chronicles, because same narrator. I don't know exactly how far I am in. I flipped open to about page 152, about page 150. That's about where I am, I believe. That's page 152 in a 1,000-page book. So I have a ways to go on that. And I'm listening to that on audiobook, obviously. As far as physical reads, I hope to spend a little bit more time with this tonight. I read this before I went to church tonight, and I'm really intrigued by it. I don't know what to think yet, and partially, I don't know what it was. Maybe I was comfortable, maybe it was because it was the afternoon. I was falling asleep a little bit, not because of the book. But Anne McCaffrey has a way of storytelling where there are times where she will shift perspectives between the main character and other characters like her father. I think that's the main one that it's shifted to, but not a lot. When it's her perspective, it's not just like distinctly her perspective. I guess I would say this is third person omniscient, but not in the sense that it's the all-knowing narrator telling you everything. It's just not limited to the main character's point of view, and her name I'm forgetting at the moment. But I have a little less than 100 pages to go, and this is a small book, so I hope to finish this later today. I had a pretty good week. Not as much reading is getting done throughout the week, and I really should expect that because, you know, Tuesdays and Thursdays are pretty much a wash as far as getting things done because I have things in the afternoon, and then by the time I get to Thursday, I'm tired. So most of my reading is happening on the weekend, but I am still plugging away throughout the week. So there you have it. There is my latest reading vlog, and here we go, pressing on ahead to next week.